Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Open to Work Beyond the Label. Today's guest is Amy Lee Looper, who I am so excited to have on the show. She is a resilience expert, a former SAAS sales leader, and the founder of Resilient Growth. Whether you're navigating burnout or leading others through tough times, Amy's insights will leave you feeling empowered and equipped. After 20 years in high-stakes tech sales, Amy learned that true success doesn't come from burnout, it comes from resilience. Now she helps leaders and teams thrive through uncertainty by her neuroscience-backed approach to high performance and well-being. Amy, thank you for being on the show and welcome.
Thanks, Laura, for having me. Excited to be here.
So, Amy, you spent 20 years in software sales. What
Yeah.
was the turning point that led you to focus on resilient and burnout prevention?
Yeah, 5 years ago, I ended up leaving an enterprise cybersecurity role, and it was just time after much personal life experience. We just had gone through a lot of personal life events that were really life altering, and so it was just time because I started to be irritable. I started to, even though I could, really hunt down deals and, do the sales motion, I had lost connection with that. Like it just wasn't, the passion was gone. And so all the signs that people may be experiencing now that are listening to this, burnout leaves you kind of feeling like, gosh, I'm going through the motions of life. I know I'm a high achiever and I can do these things, but there's just something going on where you're just feeling depleted in one area of your life. And oftentimes it filters into all areas of your life. And so I was at that point. And so that's where I just took a pause and I said, you know what? Let's go use what I've done in sales and create something that was really impactful. I wanted to make an impact and not just push transactions through, but really know that I was making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah. Burnout is so common, especially in sales, and often I see it being worn as a badge of honor. What do you think that the cost is of doing that?
Well, the cost is really high. It's funny that you mentioned the word cost because that is the exact question I ask people that come on to inquire with me about coaching because we have to realize that there is a huge cost. Burnout can cause massive health problems. It can cause, anything from hormonal imbalances, chronic stress-related diseases like autoimmune disorders. I mean, there's just so many things to anxiety and depression. And sometimes people also suffer from things like maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's a career setback or a change or a demotion, maybe they get fired. But at the root cause, burnout is more of a symptom. There's a whole bunch of things that we do to find the root cause of where that burnout is really coming from. And it goes much deeper than the buzzword burnout. Burnout's really thrown around out there, but there is a huge cost to that. So you have to kind of see like, what's really going on in my individual journey?
Yeah, for sure. For a lot of our listeners, they're going to be open to work, right? We have people that are on here open to work that are using this as a platform to get their name out there and to get their story out there. But there's also going to be people who are open to work currently looking for tactics to get through what may be a really tough time. So for anyone who is open to work today and feeling overwhelmed, what is one mindset shift or habit that they can start with today to reclaim their energy and their confidence?
Yeah, I think these moments where you're in a transition, maybe maybe you're choosing to shift careers, maybe you're taking an intentional break, or maybe it was forced upon you, right? Maybe you were laid off or whatever the case was. It's a door of opportunity. And so just to celebrate that, that's the first shift, is to celebrate. Okay, like the past is the past. We can't do anything about what happened 5 minutes ago, and we can't do anything that happened 5 years ago or 5 months ago. So letting go, that's an intentional choice that we can get to. But that requires us to really realize and be present in the moment that that life is for us. So that mindset shift is life is not happening to us, but life is happening for us. Asking yourself, underneath the circumstance, what is am I supposed to learn? What is the universe, God trying to teach me in this moment? Because if life is for us, then it's very purpose-filled.
I love that. Life is not happening to us, it's happening for us. I had my sister on last week and we were talking about her time being open to work, and she now looks back at it and is grateful that she had that opportunity. Ultimately, there was a lot of other things going on in life besides her looking for a job, and
Yeah.
this happened to be something that time that she needed. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of people end up looking back saying, wow, I am actually grateful for that time, although it was really hard in that moment. But
Yeah.
shifting the mindset, I think, is something that definitely helps. So
Yes.
that's great feedback.
Yeah, and I think the first step that has to happen though too, if you're in burnout, and this is what gets missed a lot in the leadership community. A lot of mindset, mindfulness, leadership, that all of that is lovely and I'm a big fan of it. However, this is where we miss the mark. We don't actually teach high achievers who are used to running hard, right? We run hard. We like achievements, and there's a reason for that. And we have to do the inner work to understand the motivator behind it because sometimes it's actually coming from a place of kind of some trauma in early years of life. So the high achiever personality develops over many, many decades. But we have to get back into our bodies. And that's where I discovered, because when I started to coach a few years ago, I didn't know this. 5 years ago, I certainly didn't know it. But about 3 years ago, I started to really study this because I thought, I'm changing my mindset. I'm doing all the leadership work. I'm doing all the things, reading all the books, right? But again, doing, doing, doing. What I wasn't doing was pausing to stretch, pausing to breathe. I was holding my breath subconsciously. I didn't even realize I was doing it when I was doing an email. So, learning how to do and practice like breath work, for an example, which is literally just somatically connecting your brain to your body, slowing down your breath, controlling it, and realizing we can be present so that your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest part of your nervous system, kicks in. Because the problem is, when we're achievers, we're always attuned to the outside world. We are always attuning our nervous system to the world around us, and we're trying to threat detect and make sure that no chaos is going to hit us. And so it's very much a protective thing. It comes out in great things like achievements and awards and great paychecks, but our bodies can really be eaten up by the stress because we're always attuning. So we have to learn, usually, and it takes this breakdown. It usually takes someone to burn out or break down in a relationship or their health to wake up to this. And this is what happened to me. So I teach this now because I've lived it. And I know that this works when we start to regularly take emotional, physical, spiritual breaks every day, when we learn to slow down our breath and we really retrain our nervous system. That's the key. That's the key to really being a high performer with also enjoying life with joy, love, and peace and the things that we really want.
Yeah, being resilient, getting through burnout, it is so much more than mind, like you're indicating with the body and the habits and all of the other things that you're doing in life outside of your day-to-day work.
Yeah.
It's funny, I didn't even think about the breath work thing. When I'm working out, I find myself not breathing.
Yeah.
I'm just not doing a good job of breathing. And
Yeah.
ultimately, to have a successful workout, you need
Mhm.
to breathe. And
Yes.
so that is really important in just life in general, just like slow down and take time to breathe.
Yeah, because what you're doing also is you're regulating cortisol levels, right? And so any of you midlife, our bodies change and hormones fluctuate. And when we're in those states where we just don't know this kind of work and how to really slow down, that's why people can do somatic work and actually lose weight versus going out to run and putting their body through more stress. It's because your body actually just needs to repair itself. And it
Wow.
will do that, but you have to give it time. So I suggest, especially to my women clients that are really battling, like maybe they've had kids and now they're midlife and they're going through all the perimenopause stuff and everything that hits you all at once. It's like, actually, you need to do less to be more because you need that time. Your body's like really starving for a break. So it's so important.
So you talk about resilience as being the key to sustainable success, but what does resilience actually look like in practice? We've talked about this breath work and some of these other kind
Yeah.
of tactics, but what does it holistically look like to be resilient?
I think resilience is all about being able to shift from emotions pretty quickly. Doesn't mean we want to stuff emotions or avoid emotions or anything like that, but when you're in just times where big things come up, being able to process those at like really quick speeds and being able to make decisions clearly, even in those moments, being able to regulate how we were talking about emotional regulation before we came on here, like emotionally regulate and respond in your highest level of leadership and just really, stay the course, even when life hits us between the eyeballs. And believe me, that is the one guarantee I know that every listener will have in life. Life is going to hit you. And so it's the resiliency skills that help you stay in connection with your vision, stay regulated enough for you to lead yourself and others around you in those times of uncertainty and big challenge.
I want to get on that emotional regulation topic because I see a lot of people have a hard time with this. What role does emotional regulation play in sales performance and team dynamics?
When I was in burnout mode, I can tell you I was not emotionally regulated. It was just like I could tell that irritability towards coworkers, and it was just like, just stuff, that frustration. And so that's natural. That comes up, but that means your nervous system's dysregulated. And so emotional regulation is again that ability to like make those intentional choices of how am I going to show up? What is my way of being today? Maybe you're working with a difficult client, I know you all have difficult clients out there sometimes, or maybe your client shows up and they're irritable. It's like, but you want that meeting to maybe have a lot of deeper connection. Maybe you want that meeting to be joyful. Maybe you want that meeting to have, just really collaboration and peace and all that. So that means that you're showing up in that way.
Yeah.
It means that you can show up in the way that you want the outcome to be, so that you're leading the energy in the room. And that's really the most important part. But that takes a lot of emotional regulation, especially maybe if you're not feeling well that day. But it's the ability to lead over the human emotion that we all experience.
Yeah. As leaders, it's important to separate like the emotion from logic, right? And I think so often we let our emotions overcome all logic in a moment of time. And so
Yes.
taking that step back to breathe, as we've talked about, and to really think. And sometimes it's okay to not finish a conversation to say, I need to emotionally regulate right now.
Yeah.
We'll pick this back up.
So here's a fun fact, and this is why I tell people, go to the bathroom. Like if you're in a meeting and you're just like, whoa, I just need a minute, go take a minute. And in fact, take 90 seconds, because the body only actually is processing an emotion for 90 seconds. The rest of it is our choice to hang on to that.
Yeah, that's
Isn't
really
that
helpful.
interesting? So it's really fast. It doesn't really linger all day. Although sometimes we have those conversations with people that were like, sometimes it takes you out for months, And it's like, well, that's your choice to hang on to that. Your body biologically only hangs on to it for 90 seconds to process it.
Yeah, I think it's important to respect your feelings and to understand that it's okay to feel the way that you're feeling, but it's also important to let go, as you're indicating. And how do we move forward without letting the emotion completely take over the situation?
Yes, exactly. Yep. And that's where taking back your power. Oh, taking back your power is so important. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I can sit here all day and give you all these tips, but real life is like sometimes we put our face in the fan. And sometimes we don't do the best job of it, as parents, as spouses, as leaders, but the reality is we can always come back and ground ourselves in, you know what? I can make a better choice next time. And sometimes we have to go clean up that relationship, right? And go clear it up and say, hey, I got to clear this, and just fall on the sword, take accountability, and take your power back.
Yeah, we are only human at the end of the day, and we're all going to make what we feel like are mistakes, but
Yep.
we always have the ability to go back and take ownership of what we feel those mistakes are to turn the ship around. At the end of the day, everything we do isn't going to be perfect, and we have to give ourselves grace in those moments where we feel like, okay, we did lose a little bit of control. Let's go back and try and clean that up.
Yeah, and so many of my clients right now are battling perfectionism, and it's like, let go. Just let it go. Who cares? Like you're human. Like we're all human. We all make mistakes and sometimes a lot in one day. Like it's okay. So just don't beat yourself up about it and just learning to let go. I think was that the Mel Robbins book, the new Let Them or whatever it's called. It's like yeah, just let it be. It's in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah, I need to read the book. I haven't read the book, but I've found myself constantly saying, let them, just let
Yeah.
them. They want to
That's
do that,
fine.
let them. So that's really good. I also like the mention about the perfectionism. I'm a recovering perfectionist. And at the beginning of this call, I totally messed up the whole intro, but guess what? We have editing now. Doesn't need to be perfect. I'll edit it out.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to get to leaders and helping leaders to build resilient, high performing teams without burning them out. Because I think
Mm,
there's a lot of leaders who have so much passion and so much grit and so much resilience, but
yeah.
some of that doesn't always go downstream to their people and it might
Yeah.
overwhelm or burn their people out. So
Yeah.
what recommendations do you have for leaders to help them to lead high performing teams, but not necessarily burn them out?
Yeah, 100%. So, well, first of all, you have to, just like any good culture, you have to get in and know your people, right? Because not everyone is going to operate like you. So, I teach style flexing, in communication. It's like the four quadrants of the personality, but how to really get in there and be heard in your communication means you have got to flex. We're not always like you and I are in sales and I have a feeling we're probably very similar in that we're driven individuals, we're results driven. If you speak directly to me in results, I love it. Get to the like I'm one of those ladies, get to the point. Like
Yeah.
don't give me the fluff. I don't want the fluff you know? But other people might be more supporters. They might be more like, oh, I want to feel part of the team and I need to have all these feelings and all that kind of stuff. Other people might be analytical, so they want steps. They want to know what's my first, second, third, fourth thing to do. And they really love that. And other people might be promoters. They might be more like they're all about the latest and greatest thing. And so they just want to be in the middle of it all. So you have to speak to their ego and tell them like who's going to be in the meeting and like get their buy-in. So there's different ways, but it's important because you're meeting them where they're at and where they're going to be receptive in communication. So it's also works really great for those of you in sales with clients because it's an enrollment skill. It's a skill that you can build for not only your internal team but to also have more effective communication with your clients.
Yeah, we've done some, in my experience, disc profiles, doing
Yeah.
that type of thing, or strength finders,
Yep.
those tests to help understand what type of people you have based on
Sure.
some of the descriptions you've described. Have
Mhm.
you done that? And any recommendations you have around for leaders to do some of that work?
I think those are fine. Those are good. And, like I really like Clifton's strengths. I think it's pretty accurate. But not everybody also wants to be assessed to death. It kind of takes that human approach out of it. So I'm very much a pro, like, let's just humanize the workplace. Just get in and understand who they are as people. What are their likes? What are their dislikes? How do they process information? Really pay attention and be present. So
Yeah.
that requires that results driven if I'm talking to CROs out there, like the person that's just like drive, but more, more, more. Well, it takes you to take a chill pill, and it takes you a chill pill for a minute to get connected and do that in a way that you can really see the person for who they are and not a number and really see them and encourage them to be the best that they are. The best sales leaders and leaders out there will see them in this way and be able to help them grow, help them see their impact and the ripple that they're creating within their client base.
Yeah. So I think there will be members in the audience that are people who are currently employed, but
Yep.
potentially like thinking about maybe I'm not happy where I'm at. Maybe I want to be open to work. Maybe I am open to work. I'm just still working in my current job. How would you recommend that those people handle that moment in time where they're still kind of unsure, they're trying to figure things out, they're not totally happy, and they don't want to be perceived as not working, but they're starting to lose that drive, they're starting to hit that point of burnout. What
Yeah.
feedback or recommendations would you have for those people?
So start to look at how you're leading your day. Oftentimes when people get to that point, they're not leading their day. They're actually being very reactive to just the world around them. And so therefore they're falling into that reactive mode where the circumstance starts to lead and woe is me and oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. I lost the deal, all the things. My spouse is mad at me and blah, 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 blah. Like all of that kind of story starts coming in because they're not leading it, right? They're stuck. And when we're stuck in those emotions of fear, anxiety, stress, guilt, those are very low on the emotional scale. And we don't create anything in life doing that. It really flatlines us energetically. So the point of transformation is really courage. Ask yourself, okay, what can I do that's different, right? What's the courageous move here? Maybe you need to time block your day differently. Maybe you're not even time blocking. Maybe you're just taking orders from people because we're just really in that place of just, you're just trying to survive, right? When we're in survival mode, we're just kind of getting along and barely surviving, right? So then you really need to flip it up and you need to really get in touch with yourself. Do some breathing sessions with yourself in the morning. You ground yourself in prayer or meditation or whatever it is for you spiritually. Go ask for some guidance first of all. And then get yourself in a place of calm and get back into what do I authentically want to create. Start with today. You don't even have to have a grandiose vision, although I do work with my clients on that. But just start with today. Okay, I woke up, I was given another day. What am I going to create in this moment? Maybe you're in a place where you can only think in the next hour. That's okay. What are you going to create in the next hour? Maybe it's an hour that you need to take time for yourself to just get clear and decompress. Maybe it's an hour that you need to get into intentional action and create impact, connect with other people, help someone, be an impact, be in committed action. So I help my clients really work on becoming strong finishers in 1 to 3 things a day when they're trying to get out of burnout. Because even 1 to 3 things, you think, well, I do a lot more than that. Well, yeah. And how many times do we actually only finish 90% as high achievers? A ton. And then we have a bunch of open loops. And it's in that last 10% that really, really shifts the results in our lives. So the less we can focus on, the better, so we can fully complete 100%.
Yeah, because don't you feel so much better when you can get something completed versus having all of these open tasks that you're thinking about constantly because you're like, okay, when can I get that done?
Yes. And your brain biologically needs evidence, right? Your brains are just like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, but it's filled with those little marbles, of memories. Well, your brain's always threat detecting and looking for evidence that you can do something. So the more that you become really good at completion energy, the more evidence your brain just knows yeah, I got this. And you start to complete things faster. And in 100% completion energy every single time. And it becomes a muscle that is just natural.
Yeah. I just thought of a random question and I have to ask you. I didn't prepare you for it. People pleasers. I know a lot of people pleasers. And I think that's when a lot of people get off track because they're constantly trying to please everyone else, that all of the things that they want to accomplish get thrown completely to the side because they're busy pleasing everybody else. What advice do you have for people in that category?
I'm laughing because for 42 years I have been a people pleaser. And I am a recovering one at that. Yes, it is so true. And so that comes from childhood. That is something that is deep work to really, that is not just flip your mindset kind of a thing. Sorry, doesn't work. That is a deep reconditioning. It can take a while to recondition those muscles because it comes from, how many times have you ladies been told, just be quiet and just be a good girl. Just be a good girl.
Yep.
Right? Well-intentioned from parents back in the day, but detrimental when it comes to learning our leadership skills and our autonomy and being validated in our wants, needs, and desires and our own emotions. So many times people pleasers have come from an environment that could have been high stress from the age of 0 to 8. They could have been growing up with very well-meaning people around them, but those people just kind of kept pushing aside their emotions or their desires and belittling them or doing things like that. It could be even that they grew up around some narcissists. There's a big pattern there that I'm really studying right now. And so it's just interesting, but we do become, and later on in adults, it shows up as people pleasers, which just really means you can be an amazing caregiver. It means that you can be an amazing leader, but you've got to really make sure that you lead with boundaries and are courageous, because this is courage for people pleasers, courageous in setting expectations based on their wants and needs. Because you have to realize your wants and needs do matter. But these people have been they either grew up in this environment or they've been in an environment which has continually discarded that. And so they have to rebuild that in themselves, and it takes great resilience and great leadership to do that. But I'm here to tell you I am proof that you can get to the other side.
I love it. That's great feedback. And we probably could talk forever about growing up and being a little
Yes.
girl, being told to be, prim and proper and, don't say this, don't say that, follow all the rules. And the girls always follow the rules. And we're perfectionists, make sure it's perfect. It looks perfect. You look perfect. You're so pretty. All of those things
All of the things.
turn up later in life. So
Yeah.
I don't have kids yet. If God blesses me with children, that is something that I definitely want to make sure I'm doing my research on to make sure that I am raising resilient, confident children and not creating some of the barriers that some of us grew up with. Not our parents just didn't know, the impact of
It
how
was a
that turns out
generational
later.
thing. Yeah.
Totally.
Totally. I let my 8-year-old go around and, she has mismatched clothes. I'm like, is that what you want to wear? Yeah, Mom, I love it.
Good.
Okay. You don't want to comb your hair? I kind of went the other way. I'm like, you don't want to comb your hair? Well, maybe you should comb it a little bit. No, I don't want to. I'm good right now. Okay. Like I just kind of I'm not going to tell you otherwise, only because those are minor things and I want her to keep her power of what do I really want,
Yeah, for sure. And I will say, I think the advantage I had growing up and why I am where I am is that my dad was NYPD chief. And I would get stuck in the car with him for an hour on the way to the city, and he would just talk to me the entire time. And it was always about be a leader, don't be a follower, making sure, you are who you hang out with. All of those lessons that I got to listen to created the woman that I am, but I still have those other things going on
We
that
all
I'm
do.
trying to unlearn as an adult, well, that's not realistic, so now I'm never doing things because it's not realistic. So anyway, I think growing up, it's important as you're raising kids to think about every word that you say really resonates and it comes up later in life. So this has been such an incredible conversation. Again, I just adore you and I could spend all day talking to you. I would love to know what's one piece of advice that you would give to anyone who is navigating career changes. And I know we talked about some things, but any advice you would give to somebody who's either navigating that, they're navigating burnout, or they're simply just trying to better themselves right now. What's one final piece of advice you can share?
Just know that everything you've done up until this point has prepared you for the next step in life. So it's all very meaningful no matter what you went through. And now you can choose what you want. So getting into your vision is so important, because if you don't have a vision, meaning if you don't know what kind of career you want, what kind of goals you want, who you actually want to impact while you're on this planet. I always tell my clients, there's no guarantees we're going to be here till we're 95. I don't even know if I'm going to be here at 6 o'clock tonight, that's reality. And so we get so wrapped up in the planning. You can plan yourself to death. Just enjoy your life. Put a vision together though, where you feel really connected into, maybe it's a mission driven career. Maybe it's a career where you just know you want to solve a particular problem in the world. The world has a lot of problems and we all need everybody to start solving them. So, just get connected with what you really want, not with what anybody is telling you to do or what you think you should have been doing by this age. Don't get into your story because that's all baloney. Life can be recreated just like that. And life will try to take you out just like that. So just know that your vision will always bring you back. It'll be your North Star, your compass.
Thank you for sharing that. And you said it earlier, and I just want to double click on it, which is the best people in this world are the people that I say, "Hey, how are you?" And they say, "I woke up today. It's a great day. I'm so happy to be here." And it
Yes.
doesn't matter what's going on. The fact that we opened our eyes is God's gift, and we
Mhm.
should be appreciative for that. And I'll say it again because you said it earlier and I loved it. Life is not happening to us, it's happening for us, and we need to seize the opportunity that we have here on this planet today. So, thank
Yeah.
you, Amy. Seriously, such a positive and powerful conversation, and just a reminder that success doesn't need to come at the expense of our well being, and that
Yes.
we should be and we should breathe and we should always take time to reset and reflect so that we can move forward in a positive way. Amy, if someone wants to reach out to you, they're interested in learning more or, in maybe having you as a coach, what are
Yeah.
some ways that they can reach out to you?
Let's go to my website. It's Amy Lee Looper. So Amy, Leigh Looper.com. And there you'll see information on what I do for coaching and then corporate work that I do. I work with corporations as well. And there's some courses on there. If you just want to learn somatic breathing, you can grab a course quick and learn that. So I just my impact is I want to rid the world of anxiety and stress. And so let's go. Life is too short to really spin and overwhelm. And I know it is a spin, but you can really shift out of it and live that life of freedom, joy, and peace that I know you guys are all looking for.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for being on. And for everyone listening, until next time, don't forget that you are not your title. You are so much more than that. And if you are currently open to work and looking to step into the spotlight, please do reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. Happy to have you on the show. Thank you again, Amy.
You're welcome.